I spent the weekend binge watching this series. It was amazing. So many highs, so many lows. I really loved it. I really loved it. Tell me why you wanted to create a docu-series like this on Prime Video.
We have Mazda to thank. Mazda has put us on an amazing national, television series on Prime Video. And it's certainly been a whirlwind since. I'll tell you what, we've done a lot since then.
Yeah, I cannot wait to find out. But let's talk a little bit about the series. As I mentioned, there are so many highs and lows. I really loved the way you coached your female race car drivers. That really stuck out to me. What's your strategy when it comes to coaching?
Yeah, I think because I've been a race car driver myself in the past. I'm a former driver. I had a 16-year career in the industry. I was very fortunate as I really had to maverick my way through it, meaning I was very unconventional. I'm a first generation racer in my family. So traditionally it's like grandfather, father, son. And for me, it started with me, 16-year-old Shea. And I've always considered myself an athlete. So I was a nationally ranked competitive water skier ahead of time, and then transitioned, literally turned in water skis to go over to a set of wheels through an experience, a NASCAR experience. Just fell in love with, the adrenaline of the sport. And because I had so many similar introductions and highs and lows, as you've talked about in the show, and just transitioning through my career of racing into leadership and team ownership, there's just relatability. It just comes, point matter of fact, it comes down to relatability. And because I was so unconventional and had zero resources and had to become very resourceful, I just feel like I can adapt well to the people that we're working with and the drivers we're working with. Particularly as well, I think being a woman in the industry, you just have an identity where you have empathy around people and who you're talking to. And, there's a lot of listening parts. I think that like our male counterparts they're not picking up on, and even social cues and just reading body language and kind of knowing ultimately like, and all in all, what's going on in a driver's head. And so I just am very fortunate that I've had a lot of experience in my, short, 35 years of life to be able to lead and manage in a way I think that's really successful. And it nets me results because of it.
Mm-hmm. And so you're mentoring Sally as well as Heather. You're the owner and principal of BSI Racing. You're responsible for so many people. How do you juggle it all? You're also a mother.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's difficult to juggle, if I'm totally honest with you, because so Heather was on my team in the 24 season, and Heather had, as you can see in the show, just a lot of things happening in the background that actually I wasn't even like fully aware of. And it's really personal, sensitive information. So, these drivers, we refer to them as over time, they become, BSI built. And that's taking a driver from any age, any background, and building them through their professional racing career. But also what that means is you get to know people and you really start to love who you work with and who you work for. All boats rise in high tides, and I really want to elevate my entire team to the fullest extent. Sally, I didn't mentor as much in the 24 season just because we were on different teams. I've actually gotten on her a little bit more recently about we need to work together, and she needs to learn to be a great mentee in order to kind of help continue to move the needle. And, what I found in my career is that a lot of people like championed me and were cheerleaders for me because I was so attentive on the mentee side. You just can't give up on people that you bring into your circle. And I think for me and how I've been able to navigate and mentor, Heather and Sally, other male counterparts on my team, one of women on my team. I'm an only girl show, but I mentor and work alongside with many males. Every other guy on the team is a guy, and guys, they communicate their emotions probably a little bit differently from time to time, but even they like need support, and it's just about paying attention and reading the room. And there's times I think when it's just you got to lead and get the job done, and you have to put your emotions aside. And there's other times where, just asking somebody, like recognizing if their body language is off, like, hey, what's going on? Are you okay? And a lot of times at the racetrack, it's just exhaustion from how much or how hard that we work.
Mm-hmm. And I can identify with that. Being a female automotive journalist, I work with all men primarily, and it is definitely challenging at times. So I can relate to what you're saying. Yeah.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. You especially you, because I think, being not a journalist, but have been working in the same industries and just cut the cross pollination, it's so similar. And I mean, I think women in the space now there's so much horsepower behind women in the space. And that's not just because of the change in tides and what's happening in the country and in the world, but honestly, there's just like more representation. There's more women wanting to get involved because of women like you and I. And the women before us. And so just kind of like paying dividends and respects to the fact that, sometimes I feel like I'm a one woman show and that I'm doing it all on my own. And a lot of the times that is the case, but I've had some great role models as well. I look at that and say that one person really made a difference in my life. And so if I can help make a difference in one others, as I'm sure you and your profession, feel the same way, it's very positive for us.
Mm-hmm. And was that the driving force for getting involved in this docuseries?
Yeah, I mean, I think one of the driving forces was definitely female representation. I think at the top down, if we're gonna like really break this down, Mazda USA is going to spend marketing dollars at the high level to entice people to buy their cars. Okay, so at the end of the day, this all came from Mazda top down. And the CMO of Mazda wanted to do something that was really different and take the car salesman out of it and put in the human interest and the authenticity and reach a demographic of so many over in the United States and potentially even the world. Mm-hmm. And a lot of that was marketing towards women. There's a lot of products, there's a lot of brands, there's a lot of automobile manufacturers that probably market more towards like the male interest. Yeah. And the CMO decided that he wanted to do something that was going to revolutionize Mazda and maybe even the motorsport and automotive industry, and put together this docuseries, First to the Finish, highlighting the women of the Mazda MX-5 Cup. And so what I love about his compassion towards the brand is understanding that the enthusiasts of the brand, particularly these MX-5s, are MX-5 Cup race car drivers and their families and the viewership and the audience and the fans around this brand. And Mazda has a racing series in IMSA called the Mazda MX-5 Cup. And I know I'm biased, but the Mazda MX-5 Cup is some of the best goddamn racing you're going to find in America right now. And it's a direct... you watched it, so
I enjoyed watching it. It was great. It was really great.
Easy to fall in love with, because it's a blend between NASCAR style of racing, very close quarter, close proximity, high speed. So high proximity means close proximity means like, there's going to be potential for more accidents happening on the racetrack. Also the drafting effect that you get from NASCAR. And then the sports car racing side of what we do, and the blend of those two cultures of racing just creates this amazing excitement. This product of racing is super exciting. And so you have, ex-Formula One drivers, IndyCar drivers, NASCAR drivers, high-level IMSA sports car drivers stopping what they're doing to come to the pit boxes during a Mazda MX-5 Cup race or watch it online through Racer TV or YouTube. So the popularity around what we're doing is just growing and growing and growing. And the CMO and his team at Mazda recognized this. And so they really just wanted to tie everything in. And they really wanted not only to market to women, but honestly, I think just put their money where their mouth is, in the sense of we want to support women and we want to give women a platform to have high visibility, which we think in turn will be great for the racing product and brand of Mazda, but then also on the OEM side. And I think that's ultimately kind of where it came from. And it's all about like human interest and storytelling and making this, relatable. There's, I'm sure, so many, young girls and mothers and business owners that can relate to me, just as they can relate to Sally and Heather and their individual stories. And then uncovering the stories of, Connor Zilisch and Weston Workman, for example, that are also in the docuseries, and that, Connor's gone on to the top levels of NASCAR racing, and Weston Workman is still in his pursuit in the Mazda MX-5 Cup, and the MX-5 Cup, he's the only African American driver. And so it just adds like so much diversity that is actually really great for our sport. And if you would have asked me this, maybe when I was 16, maybe I wouldn't have the same opinion, but now being 35 and experienced in the industry, I can tell you that I've seen just huge success from a viewership perspective and people engaging in, who we deeply are as people, and then the racing part of it almost second. And I think that's what's really unique about this docuseries is you don't have to love, like, or know racing to not fall in love with the story behind each individual, but then inherently you're going to love racing. You're going to love the 5 Cup because it's pretty amazing.
Yeah, and I noticed right away it was very well produced, directed, written. The storytelling skills were top notch. Coming from my background as a journalist, I said this is very well done. It really was.
Yeah, I don't think any of us expected it to be done as well as it was because Boardwalk Pictures, they don't play around. They're like an A+++ production agency and company in the world of cinema and docu storytelling.
Let's talk briefly about the and Heather drama. I didn't expect that. Did you expect that? Is that common in the industry when there are only a few women, competing?
Yeah, I think inherently because women are, I think, immensely competitive in nature. Somebody might beg to differ and say, no, I don't think women are as competitive. I astronomically disagree. I think women are some of the fierce competitors I've ever personally competed against. And when you have the visibility of a docuseries, when you have $2,000 on the line every race weekend, when you have $250,000 at the end of a championship, when you have all these opportunities and carrots being, put out in front of you, you're going to see these 2 women or 10 women, definitely gearing and gunning towards that because they have the opportunity to have another accolade, win another financial carrot, have another, it's that builds who you are as a person. It's the same with the boys though. If we were to do a season 2 and show that the boys are just as competitive, the parents are just as competitive.
Yeah. Right. We only saw the women's side. You're right.
Yeah. You only saw the female side of it. And it's twofold. Okay. And even if, the girls were competing for podiums, which I still believe we can get these 2 girls to podium finishes. If they're competing for podium finishes, you better believe they're going to be as competitive to their male counterpart as if they were each other. So the competitiveness is never going to change. I think it's an interesting look into seeing 2 women and be as fiercely competitive as they became. I think women obviously are going to want to, rally and tag team and, work together, but that does not, it's not that I don't think they ever lost sight of working together. I think they ended up finding each other on the racetrack more often than not. And that became the story.
Yeah.
And I think both could have handled things better, honestly. I wish maybe I was a little bit more involved on just not from a show perspective, but maybe I was a little bit more involved on mediating some of it. I was mediating on behalf of my driver, Heather. I think I could have mediated maybe a little bit more for the collective because when you have this visibility of the show, you want things to be represented well for us. I wouldn't change anything. You have still a young driver, Heather Hadley, who is 2.5 seasons into the Mazda MX-5 Cup, one of the most competitive series in the country, comes from many accolades to this point. We call her Heather the Heat Hadley for a reason. She brings and packs a lot of heat. And then Sally Mott is, as she said in the documentary, she was kind of like, holy cow, I just won this women's initiative and I'm ready, but I'm not ready at all. So I remember taking on opportunities and saying yes to things and diving in, even knowing that maybe I'm not 100% ready for this, but when are you ever going to be ready? And in racing, you can't just wait all the time. You got to sometimes have expectations around what the season is going to look like and grow throughout the season to raise the bar of your own expectations. And so Sally, you just see that, she's, very emotional, but honestly, I don't discredit her emotions. It was her first season and she's under the magnifying glass. Like, I talked to Sally post series, even into this year, and it said, you are experiencing 1,000 things at once.
Yes.
You're very lucky. You're very, very lucky to have this opportunity. So don't worry about what people think. All you need to do is be the best version of yourself. And if that alters a little bit because of the show, because of a way that you were perceived or you represented yourself or that you reacted in a certain way, if you don't like something, guess what? You can change it. And I think, and I love watching how she has grown since, and the two of them are now friends. I will say there was a period of time where they weren't.
Yeah, I read something and I said, oh, they're friends now. That's great. Yeah.
There was a period in time where they were not friends, but they are friends. And I personally have seen it, and I'm very proud of the two of them. I think they've done an amazing job representing themselves and women in the industry and Mazda.
And even over the series, just the few episodes, you could see them each growing, each episode changing. So that was really inspiring to see too. So let's talk about the goal of getting a female champion soon, hopefully.
Yeah, I have been working on this for a while, and it is easier said than done. It's a linear experience. It takes time. Not only does it, you can't just like pick somebody, you can't just pick a woman out of the hat and say, you know what, she's going to be it, and we're going to work hard to get her there in a season or a 2 or 3. It's more than just that. We do, like, through our driver development program, I work with a lot of drivers that are coming out of karting. And the goal is to surround them in an environment that's very supportive, that with tools and resources, and bringing them in, even if they're not racing with us on the development side, to kind of learn at a faster rate in a professional environment. And when they start to get the opportunities that they either create for themselves or they're winning through scholarship initiatives with the Mazda grassroots platforms, that they are conditioning years before, so that when they have an opportunity presented, that they just kill it and crush it out of the water and they win whatever that might be, whether it's a scholarship, a fast lap, an opportunity to do a test, whatever it might be. So I certainly would love to be, as a female team owner, I would love to find that female talent, and I'd love to create and build that female champion and support that female champion. One, because it's a feather in my cap, and it's just a goal, an aspiration that I personally have. I mean, I can tell you it's hard because I've won a lot of races in my time, but I've never won a championship. So, I've won some championships that maybe didn't matter as much, but the ones that mattered, I haven't won a championship. I've had it slip through the cracks, and I've been right there, and then, have 1.2, 1 point not enough.
Yes.
And lost the championship because of it. So I know what it's like. I know what it feels like. I know what the journey feels like. I know what the financial struggle is like too. I think for every series across America, I think that I think it just takes a lot of time and conditioning, financial support and resources to help breed that person, to help find that girl that's a diamond in the rough, because they're there. I already know some of them. They're there. It's just getting the partnerships and sponsorships aligned to have longevity, so that this female can have sustainability to achieve a championship, because sustainability is key in even in the auto industry, like auto and especially the motorsport industry. Sustainability is key, and that's how we're going to get there. And Mazda's helping, move the needle more so than any other manufacturer at this moment in time, and finding that. And that's through the Mazda's women's initiative, a scholarship that's given to a female. That's through the per race weekend highest finishing female purse money. That's the docuseries. And I mean, there's more happening there than there are in a lot of other parts of the industry right now. And
Yeah,
I'm gonna be the person to find her. So.
that's great. Thank you so much. That's really amazing. And I know we're almost out of time, but I wanted to just briefly ask you, is there going to be another series, and when could people look for that?
I think we're very hopeful for another series, a season 2. We're currently filming, but there's no like 100% green light on a season 2 yet.
Hmm.
Um, I might be speaking out of turn, but with a lot of things going on, and the potential implications of tariffs, and
Yeah.
obviously automobile manufacturers are going to, really weigh, what this potentially or might not even, be problematic for them,
Hmm.
or it might be. And so, to produce this, and because Mazda owns the rights to this docu-series, it means they invested a lot of money. And so I think they want to continue, but that's a little bit up in the air at this moment in time. I know what would persuade them to do a season 2 is the viewership.
Okay.
So
Mhm.
people watching this, enjoying it, providing feedback,
Yes.
all of that is really helpful. And not only is it helpful just for those that really want the season 2, this is so good for motorsports.
It
This
is.
is
Mhm.
so good for the automotive industry, for everyone. It's not just for me, it's not just for our series, it's not just for Mazda. It is so gosh darn good for everybody.
Mhm.
And the success of the show, I think, will be one of the reasons why they choose, or maybe not choose, to continue with it. But we'll see. I don't know the answer to that. I barely knew we were filming a few days, in advance to the start of the season. So I think a lot of people come to me wondering if I'd have this, deep insider, secret information, and that's not always the case on the docu-series. Plus, I'm just trying to live my life and let them film it. So
Exactly. Exactly. Okay. Well, that's great. Thank you so much for all of this. This is going to be great. And I wish you the best of luck.